Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Whew. Man, it is getting real today. Yeah, first things first, let's do this. Welcome to CNN. I'm Kirk Kennedy. Let's go in. On this channel, we take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. All right. If you are of the Christian tradition, as I am, you're a fear of the Lord in, a believer, a Christian, we know that tomorrow is not promised. Tomorrow isn't promised, but the day of the Lord is, right? So we want to remember the future, remember the day of the Lord, remember the future, because all of us will stand before the Lord and give an account. So remember the future right there, right there, right there, right there. All right, man, let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right, first things first, it's been a while. I haven't posted in like a week, and that's largely because I am on a just sort of a low-key vacation with my sons. I got 3 boys, and we were able to just step away for a week. So we left, well, almost a week. We left on Sunday, and we'll be back on Saturday tomorrow. So I just been chilling with my boys all week. Just kind of, I got 3 sons, 16, 15, and almost 13. And so it's just been a blast. I wanted to just hang with them. So I haven't posted that much this week since last week, sometime before I left. So I apologize for that, but I just felt like it was necessary to just have some real quality time with my youngins. All right. But I felt like today I wanted to post because you know, the word on this, it's not even the word on the street now, it's common knowledge that Candace Owens is out at Daily Wire. She posted Jeremy Boring, who is the co-founder with Ben Shapiro of Daily Wire, tweeted Daily Wire and Candace Owens have went separate ways, or however they phrased it. And then Candace Owens said, yep, it is free. I'm free. And so forth and so forth. The reason why I want to talk about this isn't my usual content. I usually like to edify you from the word, but I think that as this is an interesting time for this to happen for a couple of reasons. One, this is an election year, right? And election years are when all of both the left and the right, let's be clear, we live in a country where there are libertarians and things like that, but they don't have the political power at all right now. So we're really talking about the left and the right, the Democrats and the Republicans. This is an interesting time because for Democrats and Republicans, this is where they want to kind of buckle down. Now, again, when I say that, I don't mean Democrats and Republicans, those who are actually in government. There are media extensions of people who support the ideologies of these, right? So there's Democratic media and Republican media, or better, liberal media and conservative media. Daily Wire is a juggernaut in conservative media, and Candace Owens has been a heavyweight within the voice of conservative media. So this is really a big deal for this to happen on an election year, where usually all the people are trying to, the left and the right are trying to present a unified political front because they really want their guy to get in the White House. That's the goal, get in the White House. Now, I personally don't think that Joe Biden stands a chance. I think my grandfather had dementia, God bless him, and I miss him still. I love that man deeply, and Joe Biden has shown signs of that for years. I actually think, if that's true, I think it's appalling that the left would put someone in the White House who doesn't have the mental faculties to govern the leader of the free world, quote unquote, right? But that's a different conversation. I want to talk about this because a lot of those of you who watch are conservatives. You are conservative. And at some point over the last 10, 12 years, conservatism really merged with Christianity in ways that were not necessarily helpful. Now, I've done a bunch of videos of this when me and Strack have done this for Cross-Examine. Let me say this real quick. There's no beef between me and Strack. Me and Strack love each other. That's my dude. Cross-Examine will be back. We just felt like we were both in really busy seasons right now, and we weren't able to give Cross-Examine what it needed to, like what it had. So we're retooling, but Cross-Examine will be back. We're just taking a break right now, and I'm doing my thing. He's doing his thing, but that's my dude. That's my homie. So we'll be back. Cross agreement, we'll be back. All right. But over the last few years, a lot of the conservatives and Christianity merged with the pushback against the left and what was labeled the woke agenda, woke movement, right? And that's Black Lives Matter, all that thing. There was as many of you know, a significant push against a narrative of America as a racist nation and Black people seemingly under attack and things like that, right? And Candace Owens was one of the conservative Black voices that people would be like, did you hear what she said? And Larry Elder and all these, who would push back against what they call the narrative of the Black community and would highlight L's in the Black community. And during that time frame, from Mike Brown in 2014 to now, there was a large sort of we're all in the same gang on the conservative side because it was a pushback against the woke agenda, the leftist agenda, the woke agenda. And that's still to some degree the reality. But I was saying for a while, and I stand by this, that there is no such thing as an agendaless people. Like the left, if the left were woke, then the right were wake, right? I used to call them sleep, but now wake versus woke is a little bit better. The challenge is the conservatives also have an agenda. Now, let me just be clear. I don't have any political affiliation. I feel like as a pastor, I just can't vote in this climate. I can't be a part of it. I trust the Lord. And honestly, because we deal with an electoral college, people blast their votes, but your votes do not affect, they're not as significant as you think, because we don't put someone in the presidency by a popular vote. It's by the electoral college, whoever gets 270 electoral college votes. So if you live in a state, no matter what. So anyway, I won't get into all that. But I don't vote, so I don't have a political position. I honestly feel like as a pastor and as a believer, I don't vote because I see it's toxic and it causes a lot of division. I watched a lot of good people, or people that I thought were good people, get so offended at this notion that the left is destroying the country, the white supremacists, they support white supremacists, all this back and forth, arguing over stuff like, I forgot the dude's name, the young white kid who shot some Black people in the Midwest, Wisconsin somewhere, and he was going to trial, and there were people on one side of the left, and no one cared about whether this dude actually believed in Jesus. They just cared about whether or not the woke media was going to get him in prison or not, all that type of stuff. So I've watched this develop, and I've watched a lot of people get distracted, believers, and lose their focus on the Lord. So I came up with a phrase called stay balanced. I didn't care because I think the problems that the country, America, is facing have nothing to do with an agenda on the left and the right. I think God is disciplining this Christian nation. I don't think the problems that we're facing will not be solved by who's in the White House. The problems that we're facing will be solved by who sits on the throne of our hearts. And I think America has made politics equivalent, and both sides have done this, the left and the right. But I would say the conservatives I saw really embrace conservatism and equated it with Christianity in such a way that I think it was detrimental. But I won't rehash a lot of the reasons why I'm saying that, because I really want to deal with the Candace Owens thing. But what we're looking at is basically a wake versus woke reality. If the conservatives are wake and the left or the liberals are woke. This is what's happening. I thought this was interesting. So let's back up just a little bit to last November, around that time, last year when Palestine attacked. Well, there's a couple things. First of all, you have the conservative engine, let me say this, is out of gas. It's out of gas. And by that, what I mean is, I'm saying, and let me tell you why I'm saying this, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I love the church, and I have brothers and sisters who are on both sides of this thing. But I've seen relationships shattered based upon who you think is going to save the country. First of all, as a believer, why is saving the country, apart from people believing in Jesus Christ, why is that a thing? Why is saving the country? And listen, we know that through many trials and tribulations, we must enter the kingdom of God, right? 2 Timothy 3:12, indeed, all who desire to live a godly life will be persecuted. It does. We're not, the Bible doesn't tell us to save the country. It tells us to save people within the country. And somehow the church in America has largely, not completely, but in many ways demonstrated at least that it no longer, that saving the country has nothing to do with Jesus. It's stopping the political opposition. And so I've seen too many. So the reason why I'm bringing this up today is because I don't vote your conscience. Vote. I'm not telling people not to vote. That was my decision. Vote your conscience, but don't lose your conscience for a vote. We are still accountable for loving our neighbors. That doesn't go away because they vote opposite of you politically. Loving your neighbors, loving your brother, not insulting your brother. Jesus said in Matthew 5, you are liable to hell for insulting your brother. There are people who have insulted their brothers because they disagree politically. So I've watched this decimate the church in many ways. Conservatism has become the new idol for Christians on that side, right? Whereas, let's just go on the limb and say, just for the sake of the conversation, that maybe the elevation of racism was sort of the throne on the Christians on the left side, or equity, whatever you want to call it, right? I mean, there's a lot I could say, but I'm trying to stay focused on this thing because I know my stuff, but I'm trying to stay focused. The conservative engine is out of gas, and I think this is good for those believers who are conservative, because you shouldn't put your hope in a political party. That is not what's going to save America, and there's no biblical precedent to save the values of a nation when, if we're being honest, historically, this has never been a Christian nation, right? And I don't think Trump is a believer. And if I just don't see it. And I could be wrong. I don't know the dude, but there's too much. You judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. So the fruit that I see, I don't see that. But anyway, I digress on that. The conservative engine is out of gas, and I think it's a good thing. And the reason why is because I think at this point, we need to learn how to put God at the center and trust God for the political destiny of our nation. That doesn't mean don't vote. You don't have to do what I do, but don't lose your conscience for a vote. If you lose the fruits of the Spirit towards people, then you failed. And you may stand before the Lord and be told, I don't know you. The Lord, you will not be saved by your political affiliation. You'll be saved by your biblical devotion. Who are you devoted to, right? And it can't be. So what's been happening, what's been amazing to me is I've watched this play out for years. I was behind the scenes in the evangelical movement. I knew a lot of the players and what was going on. And I was talking to guys on both sides, trying to help bridge the gap. I had a stay balanced mantra, and people were offended at me because I wouldn't choose a side, because I will correct what Black people do and I will correct what white people do, or I'm an equal opportunity offender, because the word says, like I say all the time, expose the deeds of darkness. I do not think darkness is on the left and the right exclusively, but it's everywhere, right? So before we get to the Candace thing, remember when Tucker Carlson, when he left Fox News last year, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, COVID kind of messed us up, COVID, it was like dog years, right? So you could think, oh, that was last year. And you'd be like, that was 3 years ago? I think it was last year when Tucker Carlson left Fox News. And I knew, wow, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Because when he left, I knew that this was a huge rift in conservative media. Now, Tucker Carlson was saying some wild stuff, some wild accusations. And so Fox News apparently wanted to break ties with him because of that, right? But then shortly after Tucker Carlson got his own network on X, I don't know how much you pay attention to this stuff, but he started going at Ben Shapiro a lot. Now there's speculation as to why, but basically Tucker Carlson is starting a network, which when you say, if Tucker Carlson has a network, right? What does a network mean? I mean, it's going to be more people. He's trying to build a media empire, right? And a lot of people follow him because Fox News started to drop significantly when Tucker Carlson left. So he's starting a network, and some people are saying that Candace Owens is going to go with Tucker Carlson. You know, I think she could go with Valuetainment, Patrick Bet-David, and those guys too. They're doing good work over there. But he was started attacking Ben Shapiro a lot, and they would go back and forth. You can go on YouTube or Google and stuff. You'll see these little exchanges. But I started to realize, like, wow, the conservative right, who seemingly were so unified against the woke left agenda, is really, and I think God was exposing, it was less about them. And just so you know, when I make these statements, I believe the Bible when it says we do not wrestle with flesh and blood. So I never blame the leftist agenda or the alphabet community agenda. I blame the spiritual forces that are behind that. That's the way God said we're supposed to see the world. Because if I'm to love my neighbor, which is another human being, how can I love them if I only see them as evil? The reason why Jesus says pray for your enemies is because you can't hate someone that you are consistently asking God to love and to serve and to help. You just can't. So Jesus taught us that. So I don't look at the country as this side is. I look at it as spiritual forces are at work. 2 Timothy 2:26, that people have been taken captive to do the devil's will. And if you're not a believer, that includes you, no matter what your political affiliation is. So you cannot pee on me and tell me it's raining. I may look like a gangster, but we're a little bit sharp around here. We pay attention, and God's word sharpens the way I see things. So people be like, well, you're just trying to play both sides. Nah, I'm trying to play up. I'm playing up. I'm playing the vertical game. I'm not playing the horizontal game, because I'm not going to lose my character and sin against people because they think differently with a political philosophy. And many of you may stand before the Lord and he may say, I don't know you. Why? Because you didn't love. And an unloving Christian is a poor imitation of one, right? So, and unforgiving, right? So that's a whole different ballgame. So when Tucker Carlson left and him and Ben Shapiro were going back and forth, I thought, wow, this is interesting. So I was paying attention to it for a while. And then, like last fall, when Hamas attacked Israel, which was a crazy thing, right? There was so much back and forth about who was wrong and who's in the right. And there's an expectation that America, because we're a Christian nation, that America is largely supposed to stand and support Israel. I'm not on anyone's team. Just because my savior was Israeli, was Jewish, does not mean I love the body of Christ, not the body of the ethnic community that my savior came out of. So if you're a believer, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm not with a nation just because Jesus came out of that nation, right? So there's this pressure, I think, on believers to just unadulterated support Israel, like they don't do anything wrong. And I don't agree with that. I think they're human beings, right? I don't get into the specifics of who does what. I'm not comparing Hamas to the IDF or whatever. I'm not comparing them to, right? I just know if you don't believe in Jesus, then you're sinful, you're a sinner, and you're going to do things that are in your best interest, all right? So Tucker Carlson comes out. He's bombing on Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro's bombing back. That happens. Then Hamas attacks Israel, and this becomes a big deal, right? Candace Owens, who professes to be a believer, I would love if any of you who are watching live or later have evidence. I thought she was Catholic, but I'm not sure what she believes. But Candace Owens has been stark about, I'm with God. I'm on God's side. That's what Kanye said. So I don't know what that means for her. I know what it means. I don't know her enough to know if that's a genuine statement, because I've seen Candace Owens, I think, slander and libel in people in ways that I don't think God is good with that. So anyway, so she comes out and says it has problems with the way that Israel, IDF, is attacking Palestine, and she reports some stuff. Ben Shapiro's livid, all right? And this is when, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I hope this doesn't sound like evil, unloving, but I was waiting for something like this to happen. I was waiting for something like this to happen. And let me tell you why. Because I think the way Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, and the conservatives all attack Black Lives Matter, which I think as an organization, Patrisse Cullors and all of them, I think they were worthy of attack. Those women were literal. They said they were rich witches. So I couldn't support, I never supported, I never liked them. I understood the hashtag, the slogan, but I never liked them because I thought, I didn't trust them. I don't trust the left. The left is wild. When it comes, Black people be tripping when they just think the left is just, but that's a different conversation. I never trusted them. I always thought that they were who they were. But worse than that, I thought they were worshiping Satan, and I think that was true on many levels. So I never liked them, and they took over. They inserted themselves into a historical ailment in America, and then by their failure to be authentic, they decimated any real authentic concerns that Black people have about the way they're treated, whether it's by law enforcement or not. It became, you're just woke. It became that your leftist agenda, because they were alphabet community. They were destruction of the family. And I just thought, I cannot stand these Black women. And why are they the face of a movement? And it was because it was the slogan. No one was marching. When you saw Black Lives Matter marches, no one was carrying Karl Marx posters, fam. People weren't even thinking it was about Marxism, and they were just thinking, we're tired of seeing this happen. Because even if you can prove that Derek Chauvin didn't kill George Floyd, right? Even if you can prove that even if they said, well, that's proven that didn't happen, all that stuff, that was all a hoax. Even if that's true, fam, the whole world watched his neck, when the dude was like, I can't breathe, you had 3 officers holding his legs, another officer standing in front of him, keeping people from approaching, and this cop with his knee on his back. It was just like, fam, once you say you can't breathe, he could have got off of him and that would got off or eased up. That was the real issue. Whether you killed him or not in a court of law, conservatives thought they won because they proved that he didn't. No, that was still inhumane. You could have did that. What if that was your mother? If that was Candace Owens' brother or something, she would have been livid, or whoever it was, right? So the issue was, no one was buying the Black Lives Matter ideology. They were buying just the fact that, like, hey, this is still a problem. You have to understand, that was during COVID. People were in the house a lot. We weren't around each other. All we're watching is lawlessness increase. And people are getting more offended and more tired of it, right? Media was a big deal, because let's be clear, when Candace Owens talks about media, when Ben Shapiro talks about media, newsflash, they're media. You're media too. It's not like, oh, they're media, the left is media, and you're not. You're a media conglomerate too, just not on the same level as traditional media, right? So I was like, man, why are they acting like the media is the problem and they're media? I never understood how people couldn't see that. So anyway, Candace Owens, she said some stuff on her show about the idea, what Israel's doing. Ben Shapiro's livid. Someone records him at some party, and he says to all the people there, essentially, Candace Owens doesn't know what she's talking about. She can quit, all this stuff. It was bad. And I was like, when I saw that video, and I said, I want to see how Candace Owens responds. So she responds, quoting, "Blessed are the peacemakers," from the Sermon on the Mount, and then says, "You cannot love God or money." Ben Shapiro shoots back, "Well, Candace, if you think that Daily Wire is coming between you and God, then by all means quit." And she shoots back, "How dare you think that I'm talking about you? The Bible is not about you." When all that was happening, I was like, whoo, it's a wrap. But then it was something else that I was waiting to see happen that happened. Here was what I thought happened. And this is what I realized. Ben Shapiro was defending Israel in the same way that, like, Hawk Nelson was defending Black people, or Ta-Nehisi Coates, right? They were called woke and all this stuff, even though they were trying to say, look, there's genuine concern here for the culture. Sure, we can talk about, but Ben Shapiro and them, Candace Owens and them, they always wanted to talk about Black people's crime rates, illiteracy, fatherlessness in the home. I mean, Larry Elder was running for president and fatherlessness in the home was like his main thing. It's like, fam, the Republicans in your documentary, he did a documentary called Uncle Tom. In your documentary, at the 1 hour and 28-minute mark, you went on for 4.5 minutes having the leading Black conservatives say in the documentary that conservatives don't want the Black vote. And they were disappointed. So why are you mad at Black people for not voting for conservative, Republican, when in your documentary, you're saying that they don't want the Black vote? Republicans don't want it, right? Go figure, right? So anyway, there was all this pushback. What about this? What about this? What about that? This in the Black community. And that's what they did. They didn't entertain anything except, you guys are your own problem. And to some degree, they were right. There's a lot of problems in the Black community that here's the issue, and we just be dancing around that joint. Black people don't want to acknowledge nothing a lot of times. Some do, but a lot of Black people just do want to blame this, and this. We won't ever blame this, right? So I'm with some of that. But I also understood it's more complicated than it's just this. It's just that. And the conservatives seem to show no empathy. But then when Israel gets attacked, Ben Shapiro is essentially the Patrisse Cullors of the Anti-Defamation League is basically the new Black Lives Matter. They have attacked. Can they say anything you say that sounds negative? Even if you just report what the IDF has done that you disagree with, which Candace Owens did and others, they call it anti-Semitic. That's the same thing that they accuse Black people of saying, oh, that's racist. You always think it's racist, right? It's no different. And now Ben Shapiro, one of the leading conservative voices, is showing his true colors that if you say anything negative about Israel, it's anti-Semitic and he's coming after it. He's not having it. Okay, cool. Do that, Ben Shapiro. Do that. But keep that same energy when Black people say, well, we think that's racism. You will go on, facts don't care about your feelings, right? You will go on tirades and try to talk people down and embarrass them. But as soon as people disagree with what Israel is doing, you're like, you don't have to work here. You don't have to work here, right? You're upset. The Anti-Defamation League is a largely Jewish organization, and they are the new BLM. They're the new Black Lives Matter. And Ben Shapiro is the new Patrisse, well, he's a guy. He's the Patrick Cullors. Patrisse Cullors ran BLM. He's Patrick Cullors. What it is you stand for your people and you want support by everyone, and you hate that Candace Owens and others do not support your people the way you do. But when some Black people did that, you shamed them. You shamed them. And so I as I'm watching this unfold, I thought this is fascinating, especially when I watched conservative white men say that, hey, they're under attack, right? The conservative white Christian male is under attack. And they were saying it was, I mean, brothers and sisters, it was literally the same language that they were calling people who were on the left of Black Lives Matter, the same language that they were saying is woke and all of that, they were using to plead their case. So they're wake. The left is woke, the right is wake. It's really no difference. So now we're in this place where Candace Owens has now left Daily Wire. I don't know all of the contractual realities and where she's going to end up. People are saying Tucker Carlson Network, Valuetainment, she's going to start her own thing. I personally don't really care. What I care about is this, and the reason why I'm making this video and highlighting all these things. I'm saying all these things primarily because I want you all watching to know that I'm not speaking. I know I'm an ex-street dude, and technically I'm supposed to be on the left, but I'm not woke. I can't stand the left, and I can't stand the right. I just can't stand none of them. That's why I'm sitting down now recording. That's a bar right there. That's a bar right there. That's a bar right there. The reason why I'm making this video, because I'm saying all this, because I want you to know I'm not just shooting from the hip. I've studied, I know what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of stuff I could say, but I'm not trying to make an hour video. The reason why I'm saying this is because I care about believers. I don't care who you vote for. I care who you vouch for. Do you vouch for Jesus? I care about believers. I care about Christians. And I feel like we have been manipulated by the left and the right. Listen, because we're made in God's image, all people are made in God's image. All people on some level will have a desire to do things that reflect being made in his image. I've said this plenty of times. This is why police officers on 9/11 were running into the dust of a collapsed building to save lives. They weren't believers. This is why non-Christians go to foreign countries. They go to Africa and they take medication and treat people, and they risk their lives so they can build wells and give fresh water. They do all these things because when you're made in the image of God, even if you're not a Christian, you still desire to. That's why people are like, man, what's my purpose in life? Like, there's got to be something out there, because there's a hole that's what do we call it? The eternal hole, a God-sized hole. You want to do some good works. You want to be a productive member of society. They don't know this, but because they're made in the image of God. So I don't look at the left or the right as, okay, they're just destroy them. They're destroying the country. I look at the enemy. But I also look at God being sovereign over the enemy. Satan needs God's permission. I see this as God humbling America, not the left, not the right. I see this as a implosion. And I think this is happening not because God doesn't care about the country, or that because God wants those who belong to him to care more about honoring him in the way we live in the country. Isaiah 66, 1 and 2. It says, as heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. For where would you build a temple for me? Something like that, right? So I find it fascinating that Satan's kingdom, this world, he's the God of this world, 2 Corinthians 4, right? That his throne, his kingdom, God said is my footstool. He said, earth is my footstool. I think America, in terms of like its prestige, its values, mean nothing to God. Mean nothing to God. You taking back America or trying to save the country as a conservative Christian is a lost cause. We need to remember that saving something, biblically speaking, is the person's soul, right? It's making sure that we're preaching the gospel. We're living in such a way that happens. Saving is not about a country and making sure that your political values are in play. God is sovereign over people ending the life of the ending the life of the life that's in them, right? He's sovereign over that too. He's sovereign over the alphabet community. He's sovereign over the racism. He's sovereign over all these things. So it's like, it's not about, oh, we need to put our hope in a dude who professes to be a Christian, who has demonstrated the opposite of all the fruits of the Spirit. Like, believers, are you so confused and so deceived that you think that these people are not, most of them are not believers, and you're fighting with other believers over which unbelievers are better fit to govern us as believers? It is bonkers to me. Bonkers. Again, vote your conscience, but don't lose your conscience for a vote. God did not say love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control is only towards those who agree with your political philosophy. He didn't. And I've watched the church be a casualty of a political war between unbelievers, and we got sucked in and somehow think that because we want to stop the agenda of these people that we're going to, and it's like, look, these people have an agenda too, and Ben Shapiro is proving this. He's proving that he cares about Israel, which that's fine. Love your people, bro. But you spent the last 10 years mocking people. And many of those people were faking. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like everyone who cried racism or everyone. It wasn't like they didn't deserve to be challenged and somehow, but it was like, I watched Candace Owens attack people when they got shot by police before she knew all the facts. I don't ever remember her coming on apologizing to Ahmaud Arbery and his family. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. They do all this stuff, but then be like, look, people are coming after me. Listen, God cannot be mocked. The man reaps what he sows. So this is going to be an interesting year. And if you're a conservative, I just think you better put your trust in the Lord, because you're going to watch these conglomerates. If Candace Owens goes with Tucker Carlson, they're going to team up. And Candace Owens is going, listen, this is why I don't know if she's a believer or not. And I'm not saying that she isn't. I just don't know. You know, taming your tongue is biblical. And Candace Owens boasts about not doing that, right? Like, I'm just going to say, I just want to be, and I just think like, I get it, right? Because you can say what you want. I mean, the Lord doesn't force us to talk, but taming the tongue is very biblical. That's James 3. It says, man, a person who can tame their tongue is perfect in all his ways, right? So I think that I don't ever see her do that. And I don't often see her go back and apologize for things. So I don't know if she's a believer or not, or how she defines being a Christian or whatever, believer in God. But I know this, for those of you that are trying to honor the Lord, that You know, maybe you have a conviction to vote politically. You may think, man, I just can't vote for the left. I can't either, to be honest. But I can't vote for the right either, because my hope is not in the political system to fix the nation. This is a God problem. It's not a Trump problem. It's not a conservative. It's not a left. This is a spiritual warfare. This is God, those who are on the side of God, and those who are on the side of the devil. And that's what it is. And the rest of us are playing out these roles. This isn't even the real world. When we die, that's the real world. This is where things are playing out. So I made this video for you, if you're on the conservative side, to just be pressing and praying. But don't pray. Well, I can't tell you what to pray for. But here's what I was going to say. I take that back. That's arrogant of me to say don't pray for something. That's I shouldn't have said that. Here's what I mean. Try not to make your prayers be that Donald Trump gets in the White House, or that because he's not. We need God. We don't need Trump. We don't need Biden. We don't need this governor. We don't need that governor. Sure, they have some influence. But remember what Jesus said to Pilate in John 19:11. Pilate was like, don't you know I have the power to crucify you or free you? Now, I don't know if Jesus did this. I'm real dramatic with it, right? So I imagine this. This is what I imagine. I imagine Jesus was looking down, not even looking at Pilate. And when Pilate was like, don't you know I have the power to free you or to let you go? I imagine Jesus looking up and saying, you would have no power over me unless it were given you from above. And Pilate was terrified. He didn't know what to do. Jesus made it clear. You don't have power. These politicians, these presidents, these people do not have power unless it's given them from above. If you really want to change or save America, you got to appeal to the person who can do it. And you don't, then that person is not who you will vote for in November. It's who you pray to right now. So that's why I'm making this video. I don't have a political, my hope is not in it. And it's not because, oh, you just don't, nah, you can say whatever you want. I mean, at this point, I've heard a lot. But I'll be on my game though. Like, I'm not out here just emotional and saying stuff. There's a lot I could have said to prove that I know what I'm talking about if I haven't already. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I don't care who becomes the president. What I care about is how I conduct myself, how my church conducts themselves, how my children conduct themselves in a way that honors the Lord, regardless who's president. Indeed, all who desire to live a godly life will be persecuted. And if Revelation is true, which I think it is, and the world really turns on Christians, those conservatives are not going to care. They're going to turn on you too, famo. If they're not genuine believers, it's a wrap. So anyway, I know I've been posting a while. I'm about to end my vacation, so I'm going to be back posting again. So I just wanted to get this. And I appreciate all the people that are watching and appreciate this. Looks like the comment section is popping. So let me read a couple of these. Let's do it. Daily Wire definitely got exposed. 100%. Thank you, Marlon. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I thought. Her husband is Catholic. She's Protestant, but I heard that too. Okay, good. I heard that too. That's what I heard too. Yeah, her husband's Catholic, and perhaps she joined him. That's what I heard. Yeah, she professed to be a Christian. Yeah, that's what I heard too. Me too on that video of Ben. Let me know if my would soon be over. I'm not sure what you're saying right there. Here's another one. I agree, but how we vote honors him too. And although neither side is on God's side, there is one side that has better policies that will honor God most when it comes to abortion and other things. So I'm glad you said that. Let me speak to that for a second. I think in theory you're right, but let me ask you a question. Do you think the job of Christians is to make society more moral? That argument is about morality. And while I agree with you, I think that the left's policies are worse than the right's. I agree. But here's my concern, though. And I'm not saying this is you, Proverbs 31 University. I'm just saying, I'm speaking. I think what's happened to conservative Christians is we've made the gospel message, we've made it morality. Hey, we want to have better laws. Let me tell you something. Let's be honest. Let's just be honest. If we get the Republican laws and you get rid of abortion, you get rid of support for alphabet community stuff, you get limited government, you control the border. Let's just say you do all of that stuff and you get rid of this stuff, right? Do you honestly believe that anyone will have more faith in Jesus? Do you think that the policies on the right will promote people having faith in Jesus? I don't think they will. I think politics is about morality. And don't get me wrong, I think where we can, because we have the ability to vote, sure, vote that way. But I don't know if it honors God more. I don't know that, because I know people that vote for the right that agree with LGBT stuff. They're that way themselves. I know people who vote on the left that do not agree with some of the policies with abortion. They don't agree with those things. So my point is, it's not as simple as just policies honor God more, because God's going to look at the heart of the individual. God's not going to look at who you voted for. Let me prove this. Prove is the wrong word. Let me tell you why I'm saying this. Because Jesus said to the Pharisees, woe to you, you tithe mint, rue, and cumin, but you neglect the weightier matters of the law. This is what Jesus said. He said, you all are whitewashed tombs, but on the inside is bones and all of that. Clean up the inside. You can vote for the right policies and have a terrible inside. There are tons of people so I don't know if in and of itself, policies honor God more. I don't know that. I think what honors God is what he says in his word, a contrite heart, a contrite spirit, a desire to honor him. I don't think you have to vote. I don't think either. Yeah, the lesser of two evils is still evil. So again, we can agree to disagree, and we probably will. I understand your point, and I would agree in terms of, I think those policies on the left are way more evil, I think. I agree with that. But I don't think that voting Republican honors the Lord more, because I don't think that's how God is looking at it. God's not trying to build a society of morality. You know who wants morality? Satan. Satan wants morality. 2 Corinthians 11, Paul said this, that Satan appears as an angel of light, right? And so it's only right that his followers appear as servants of righteousness. What is righteousness? Morality. What does light mean in that context? An angel of right. So that's why they'll say, like, love is love, right? Love is love. That's loving. Doesn't the Bible say we should be loving? Yeah. But how are you defining love? So you got to be careful when you make a one-to-one that voting for these policies is better, maybe in a moralistic sense, but moralism was the law. Believers are not driven by moralism. We're driven by salvationism. We want people to believe in Jesus, not stop doing bad things. That doesn't, in and of itself, because if we're honest, 1 Corinthians 5, and I'm going to end with this because I could be out here all day. I'll mess around, have a 2-hour video. 1 Corinthians 5, Paul says this, look, I didn't tell you not to associate. When I told you not to, I'm paraphrasing, right? But when I told you not to associate with the world, I did not mean the unbelievers. When I told you not to associate with the sexually immoral, the greedy, the idolaters, he said, I did not mean the world, because then you would have to go out of the world. But rather, don't associate with those believers who are sexually immoral, greedy, idolaters, and so forth. And he said, what have I to do with judging the world, right? He said, God judges the world, right? He said, God judges the world. He said, purge the evil from among you. So don't get me wrong. Is abortion terrible for society? 100%, right? 100%. Or some of these law 100%. But I'm not changing those doesn't lead anyone to salvation. I think if you want to really honor the Lord and figure out what policy, don't put your hope in better policies. Put your hope in the person of Jesus, and pray and ask the Lord, can we save? Would you have? And do you know how much if all of us, right? I tried to do this 2 years ago. No one really did it. But can you imagine all these people with these big platforms? Candace Owens, I'm with God. I never heard Candace Owens say, hey, you know what? Let's, for 30 days, every Tuesday and Thursday, Eastern Standard Time at 4 p.m., let's cry out to the Lord and ask the Lord to save and change this nation. Do you know how much influence she has and all these people, all these quote unquote these Christians? How much that would be way different. That would change the country way more than the policies of some political party. So again, from a moralistic sense, yes, they're more moral, but that's not the goal of the Christian. We're to make disciples. right? Now, if those disciples are in positions of power that can change things, amen. Let's do it. But that's all we do, fam. We make disciples. We don't change policies because morality doesn't save people, right? Understanding the love and the sacrifice of God, that's what saves people. So, yeah, I don't know if I would say voting Republican honors the Lord more. Maybe. I don't see any biblical credence to that. So, anyway, but I appreciate that thought. Thank you, Pastor Kurt. I pray for a godly voice of reason to the truth. We can easily get caught up in faith trumps at all. Team, hey, well said, VO. I'm with you. Team Jesus, baby. Team Jesus. That's the homie. Amen, bro. That's the homie. Member of my church. My dude right there. That's my dude. Thank you, JV the truth. Looking a little bit like the way they think Jesus looked. I don't think he looked like that. Appreciate you, Proverbs 31. I hope, I wasn't trying to come at you. I was just I appreciate your perspective, and thank you guys. All right, I'm getting out of here. My vacation ends tomorrow. I'm headed back. I wasn't supposed to be back till Sunday, but I'm headed back. So I'm actually preaching at my church on Sunday. I wasn't supposed to be there until the following Sunday. So that's weird. But all right, love you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like and subscribe. Don't hit me with a super chat or something. Oh, thank you, whoever. Again, one of you sent me Venmo. Wow. I was blown away. I told my kids, you sent it to me last Sunday morning. The day we were going, I told my kids, hey, someone sent me this to say thank you. So thank you. That stuff matters. I appreciate you a lot. All right. Love you guys, and we'll see you. Stay safe. I heard it's supposed to be thunderstorming tomorrow, and we're going to be driving back from North Carolina. Jeez. Pray for your boy, but more importantly, pray for our nation. That is the only thing. There's no politician that's going to change anything. We need Jesus to do it. Need him to change us so that we talk to other people about the changes that they have. All right? All right, guys. Grace and peace.